what is up everybody? This is JP and today I'm coming at you with a video on how to increase your metabolism. We all know that one friend, that one person, or you've had a friend or known somebody that has a fast metabolism. Most people don't even know what that really means. They kind of know in a regular sense, but it just obviously means your ability to burn calories throughout the day. Someone with a slower metabolism doesn't really burn that much calories. They don't really have efficient nutrient utilization. You know, someone with a fast metabolism or someone with good genetics may, they can eat a bunch and then they don't gain any weight, or usually whatever nutrients they eat, it turns in more into muscle instead of more into fat. Some people they don't have good genetics. They can't eat that much, and if they do, they gain weight. They just naturally don't have a good body composition. But right now I'm going to give you some tips on how you can personally speed up your metabolism and increase the amount of calories that you're burning. Okay, to start out, I did a different video on this, but there's 3 different things that we burn calories on throughout the day. One of them is just the most of what we do is our resting metabolic rate, which is how many calories we burn at rest. Approximately 60 to 70% of the calories that we burn throughout the day are just calories that we would normally burn at rest. So we need to make sure that we figure out a way to raise that. The other portion of calories that we burn throughout the day is due to physical activity or exercise. So you can have a high resting metabolic rate but not do that much physical activity. Physical activity could be anywhere from 20 to 30% of our daily calories. So again, if you are someone who's active, who has a hard lifting session, that's going to definitely count towards the calories that you burn throughout the day. And the last 10 to 15%, it can even be as low as 5%, is our nutrition. It takes energy to break down the food that we eat and use it as nutrients. So that's another thing that you got to be aware of, and what types of foods you eat can help you burn more calories throughout the day. So yes, the nutrients that you eat help you burn more nutrients, which kind of sounds ironic, but it's true. So again, just to break these down into steps. Also too, I have another video, you could check it on my channel. If you do not know how many calories you burn, you need to figure that out. Again, you can watch my video to do a really quick recap. You can use an equation, find out your body fat percentage and plug it into an equation. You can go to a calorie calculator online, or you could do some advanced methods. If you type it in on Google or you watch my video, you can find out how. But knowing how many calories you burn throughout the day is essential to it'll really help you out in this video. Okay, now to jump in. The first one is high intensity exercise. You need to pick higher intensity exercise activities over lower intensity activities. Remember, if you are not acclimated to working out, if you haven't worked out in a while, don't jump into something super high intensity. But if you've already worked out before, if you've been working out and you're not doing high intensity exercise, you need to switch. For example, high intensity stuff is sprints, lifting weights, fast jump roping, hitting a heavy bag really hard, a farmer's carry, heavy farmer's carries, things like that. Those are high intensity exercise. Things that are low intensity, walking, jogging, depending on the individual. Low intensity weightlifting like muscular endurance, doing an hour-long session of yoga. I'm not saying you can't do those types of things. If you like exercising like that, that's fine. But if you want to increase your metabolism and you're picking one or the other, high intensity exercise is going to raise your metabolism higher due to when you have a high intensity workout, our body has to consume more oxygen after you're done working out to bring it back to pre-exercising states. And the harder your workout is, the more difficult your workout is, and the more strenuous it is, the more oxygen over time that our body has to use to bring it back to pre-exercise state, and that process takes up more calories. So again, high intensity stuff, sprints, things like that, over low intensity. 2, you need to gain muscle. That should be a staple of your workout. Again, someone with more muscle is going to burn more calories throughout the rest of the day. Just like I said earlier, our resting metabolic rate is 60 to 70% of calories we burn throughout the day. It's the greatest portion of calories that an individual is using. So if you don't have a lot of muscle on you, you're not going to burn a lot of calories. So I would definitely recommend you need to gain muscle, get into a hypertrophy program. For example, and this kind of coincides with point number 1, stay away from long bouts of cardio. If you're doing long bouts of cardio, 30, 40 minutes of jogging, 30 minutes of running, anything like that, if you're doing like light, any type of aerobics, swimming for an hour. Again, if you have to do it for a sport, there's nothing you can do. You can't avoid it. But if your ultimate goal is to maximize your metabolism, avoid extremely long bouts of cardio. Again, I'm not saying you can't do cardio. Cardio is efficient. It's it's good for being healthy. But if you're trying okay, when we work out, we get a response from our endocrine system, and that's our hormone system. You've obviously heard of like testosterone and anabolic hormones like that. Anabolic just means growth, like growth hormone, some type of hormones that help us grow. Growth hormone, testosterone, IGF-1, those are all big names, but just get that in your head that those hormones, they help us gain muscle. We want to bring those hormones out of our endocrine system when we're exercising. When you do long bouts of cardio, really long bouts of cardio, you're doing the opposite. You're bringing out hormones that break down muscle tissue. Again, for someone who's really, if you're in exercise science or you're a personal trainer, I'm making this a little bit more simple for people who don't understand. So if you're not in exercise, just understand that when you do long bouts of cardio, you start to break down muscle tissue. And again, just like I said right now, the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. So instead of doing long bouts of cardio, try to keep your cardio under 15 minutes, under 12 minutes. But because you're doing it a shorter amount of time, raise the intensity. Do high intensity interval training. Do high intensity interval sprints and things like that instead. And don't do that long. Maybe do cardio 3 times a week for about 10 minutes each time and do them really hard. On top of that, do hypertrophy training and do strength training. Lift weights. That's going to help you gain muscle. Again, that's the best way to increase your resting metabolic rate. Number 3, diet. Just like I said earlier, yes, what type of foods you eat can help you burn less or more calories. For example, if you're eating simple foods, and by simple foods, I mean if you're eating saturated fat, if you're eating lots of plain sugar, like not fruit. Fruit is good. That's stupid. Fruit's not bad for you, but soda, candy, ice cream, processed carbohydrates like chips, things like that all the time. Again, those are simple foods. Our body digests them fast, and it doesn't take our body a lot of work to break down that food and use it as fuel. So now foods that you do need to eat, complex foods like polyunsaturated fats, not so complex but still healthy, monounsaturated fats, complex carbs. You need fibrous carbohydrates, some starchy carbohydrates depending on your exercise levels. But you need to eat complex carbohydrates. Those types of foods, it takes our body energy to break those types of foods down and use them as nutrients, to use them as energy sources versus the simple stuff. Simple stuff, our body can readily use it. So when you eat it, it doesn't take any energy to break it down. If I had to make it a little bit more simpler, think about it like this. If you had a big, this might be a stupid example for some, but it's easy to relate to. Think about if you had a big block made out of Legos. Think about how if you had to break those Legos down into pieces, a big block of Legos. It's going to take you a while, and it's going to take you some energy to break down those Legos, to break them all into little individual parts. That's not that hard, Just if you had to, let's just say you had to put them in a basket, but you had to put them in one by one. You had to break them off. It's going to take energy to use that and do that, So think of our body like that. When we eat complex foods, it takes our body to break them down into pieces to use it. Now think of if I had a bunch of Legos and just 2 pieces together and they were all kind of separate and you had to put them in the box. It would be a lot quicker. You just break the pieces in half and put them in, So that's kind of like simple foods. Our body uses them easier. If you guys have a better analogy, you could post it down below. I can't think of one, but that's the easiest way to put it. Eat more complex foods. And again, another thing with diet too, eat spicy foods. Capsaicin, it raises our body temperature and it helps burn more calories. So spicy foods that are hot for you, they are your friend. Yes, they do burn more calories. You can look it up yourself, but again, it's fact. They do. So eat spicy foods. If you're a spicy food lover, go ahead and put that on a lot of your foods. If you're not, then, if you like it, just depending on you, the person, it can help. 3, do not undereat. Do not undereat. That is the biggest problem. If you undereat, and it goes back to number 2 and number 1, our body muscle is very costly. It takes, like I said, if the person who has more muscle is going to burn more calories. So if you are not eating that much food, because it takes a lot of calories for our bodies to sustain the muscle mass, then our body's going to point out and pick out the one thing that costs the most, and it's going to get rid of it. Think about it, and this is another analogy. Trust me, this is a better analogy. You can trust me on that. But if you were a boss and you had a bunch of workers and you only had a certain amount of budget, and you had one pretty good worker, you had a few other workers, but this one was a little bit better. But he was only a little bit better, but he cost a lot more to keep on your team. He just cost you a lot of money. You had to pay him a lot, and his price was high. If you had to pick one person to get rid of, you're going to get rid of that person because it's probably going to be too much money for you. Now, it's the same thing with your body. Muscle costs a lot of calories to sustain, and if you're eating too little food, your body is going to get rid of muscle. That's plain and simple. There's no way around it. And again, getting rid of muscle is going to lower the amount of calories that your body burns in a day. So if you are under eating, then that's going to be a problem. And this goes back to, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, you need to know how many calories you are burning right now. If you're going to go on a cut, again, don't cut too much. If you're burning, let's just say 2,400 calories and you're trying to lose weight, don't be eating anything ridiculous like 1,400 calories when you're burning 24. That's 1,000 calories. That's too much. That's way too much. Your body's going to get rid of a lot of muscle. You may lose a little bit of fat, but it's not going to be what you want. Just cut back 200 to 400 calories. The most 500 calories, but I would recommend 200 to 400 is best. And again, now these are some more random ones. You may or might not be doing these, but it's just good to mention them because if you're not doing them, you need to check yourself on it and you need to get back on track, or this may be something you didn't know. Drink enough water. What I would recommend is every morning drink 16 ounces of water flat. If you can't drink 16 ounces of water, drink 8 ounces of water. But when you sleep 8 hours, 7 hours, 9 hours, whatever it is you sleep, you're not drinking water. Hopefully you're getting good sleep. And the entire time, when you wake up, you're dehydrated. You need to drink water. So I would recommend drinking 16 ounces of water. Drink water before you go to bed, drink water with every meal, and drink water in between meals. Now don't go nuts and drink like 3 gallons a day. That's too much. But I would recommend 3 liters at least, preferably a gallon if you're in a hot state or if you're working out frequently. It should be a gallon throughout the entire day. Miscounting calories. Make sure you're counting calories good. Again, this goes back to knowing how many calories you burn. A lot of people don't count calories. They don't count the mayonnaise. They don't count all the little foods that they eat, or maybe they're just underestimating how much work they are doing. If you're counting calories, make sure you know that's how many calories you're eating, because again, it's going to throw off all of this if you don't know how many calories you're eating. Another point that goes back to number 2, make sure you are doing both cardio and weightlifting if your goal is to raise your metabolism. Now, some of you may say, oh, I don't want to do cardio. I hate doing cardio. Again, that's fine. You could do what you want. But for optimizing your metabolism, for making you being able to burn the most calories, high-intensity cardio combined with weightlifting is the most efficient way to burn calories. So you need to do both. You cannot pick one. If you pick one, that's fine. If you like doing that, personally, that's okay. But that is not the best way to burn calories. So make sure you're doing both. And lastly, avoid stress. If you can avoid stress, that's fine. I know you're going to be like, well, that's easier said than done. It is, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do. If there's someone or something that you know is causing you stress, you need to get away from that. And again, all this stuff ties in together. Just like I said about the hormones earlier, how long bouts of cardio can break down muscle tissue, that's because of the hormones that it releases. Certain hormones from long bouts of cardio break down muscle tissue. If you're stressing all the time, it's the same effect. Your body releases those type of catabolic hormones. Catabolic means breaking down. It releases those types of catabolic hormones, and it breaks down muscle tissue. This is like the fight or flight response. You stress out, your body breaks down muscle tissue and to be used as energy, but because this day and age, stress isn't equated to physical activity most of the time, that energy now gets stored as fat. So the best way to do that, again, is find out what's making you mad. If something's bothering you, if it's a person, if it's a problem, you need to figure out how to get around it. And if you can't get away from it, you need to tell yourself, well, maybe I need to start having a more positive mentality. Maybe you need to go to a counselor. And I'm not saying you're messed up. Just a lot more people need a counselor than they think they are. Again, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Again, I always ask this, get a friend to watch my videos. I'd really appreciate it. The more people that watch my videos, the better. Again, like it, share it to your Facebook. If you go on my Facebook, it's JP Personal Trainer. I did recently change it. It used to be called Muscular Elite Athletics, but I want to put a name to the face and a face to the name. So if you have any more options for videos, please post down below. I'll make videos depending on what you guys want. But until next time, peace.